What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Marketflow, powered by Thor, presented by Mode. Here with the Cyber Frogs V3 auto contract, you can see we are very quickly approaching that 3 million TVL. Even in a down market, Solana's been going down, Bitcoin's been going down. Users are experiencing approximately 56% increase in their contracts. Um, as we see, taking just a quick look, you can see Thor was selling in these ranges anywhere from about 190 to the 200. It has been reaccumulating down here at the 170s most recently, and has some lower buy orders, which we're going to get into when we look into Thor in just a moment. But before we get to Solana, we got to start with Big Daddy Bitcoin, where we're at with Bitcoin, where we're at with the market flow. If you were on stream just a couple weeks ago, you would have seen, and if you have the student frog roll, I pinged you guys in chat when we were making these entry zones, and both of these Thor short calls for Bitcoin did hit profit. Now, if we have short stacked up, why isn't this the top? What's going on? Well, data is telling Thor that we're in a sideways zone, and entry, take profit. Entry, take profit. We're actually still finding support on the long-term EMAs, and we're finding support right now on the short term. We got the breakout, filled the Thor long, or I'm sorry, filled the Thor short, hit the take profit. Now we failed the retest, but we look to be breaking out in retest. Was this just a little bit of maybe extra momentum, little bit of leverage flush? Remember, we got to pay attention to what we get solid, right? Don't react to the very first candle. So we wanted to see a break, a retest, and right now it looks like we could be holding. So, what am I seeing if we are going bullish? If we are going bullish from this point right here on Bitcoin, what I would be looking at here is for us to hold this retest, hold these EMAs, break out, look to fill this Thor long, short call, go long, fill the short call at about 76 somewhere, and our take profit point down here, which would be retesting these tops, retesting these last Thor short entries. We find support there, find support on our long-term trend line and our EMAs again. Look for us to be maybe breaking out once again, higher highs, higher lows, new higher high reaching up toward that 82,000. If we hit that 82,000, Thor is calling for a short that actually comes back, and the take profit zone for that short is retesting the last all-time high almost perfectly. So this is what we see if we break out, if we hold, if we get our bullish scenarios, what we're seeing from Thor. Now, let's look at the adverse side of the chart. What happens if we can't hold this? What happens if we lose the EMA? What happens if the RSI loses steam and we keep moving down? Well, at that point, I think we will probably lose it and lose it pretty hard. Come down. We have a Thor long here around 66, just below this EMA. Each time you see we dip below that EMA, it goes a little bit and we get a bounce. So what I think Thor is predicting here is if we retest the long-term EMA, look for us to spike up, retest, and potentially find resistance on the short-term EMA. If we get this lower low, it's not really a lower low, it's kind of equal low, but this would print a lower high if we get the resistance on the short-term EMA. That lower high to me would trigger a more bearish scenario, and I would be looking for these retraces down to these. We have two Thor longs right here. These Thor longs are actually stacked up pretty much right on top of each other, and the take profit points are very much near each other. So I see this as a very strong, significant zone for at least the bounce and the retest of the EMAs, the retest of the trend line, where we're at least going to retest that before we break down further or before we get the potential break retest like we talk about and continue our bullish scenario from that point. Um, I do have some zones still identified here that we really haven't retested this run for Bitcoin. They were retested last run, were significant zones. We did hit our buy here at the 62. Remember, we have not financial advice, do your own research, but DCA points to consider were the 62, the 56, the 52, and then the big zone of 46. Remember, 46 was a big zone last run. So that's kind of what I'm seeing as our potential bearish scenarios for Bitcoin is if we do break, we do find resistance and make this lower low, look for the lower high, and that could also then again trigger the lower lows and lower highs. Remember, it's not if we do start to fill out this bearish sequence here. If we do start to fill this out, what am I looking for to say I'm now bullish again? I'm looking for a low and somewhere to make that higher low. Give me the break, give me the retest, right? As soon as I see that break, right? I'll even make it more simple. As soon as I see the break and retest giving me a higher low, that's when I'm now considering we're going back to bullish, and if not going back to bullish, at least breaking the bearish downtrend. Remember, if we break a downtrend, that doesn't automatically mean we're going up. It means we could go down at a slower rate, means we could just go sideways, or we could head up. Only thing we know is charts won't go left, right? That's the only thing we can promise. Here is our bullish, here is our bearish scenarios for Bitcoin and our target points. Now, we were talking about the contract, where the contract have been making purchases and what we're looking at now. So if we go to Solana and we take a look, we're going to take a look at our bullish and bearish scenarios for Solana. Because again, we're really being squashed down in this wedge. And man, not even so much the wedge anymore, but look how much we're just being squashed between the EMAs. We got to have a break somewhere. We identified this zone as an area of price had not been retested in this run. Thor actually has now printed a long call dead in the center and a little bit toward the lower point on the lower entries for it. Letting me know that yes, that is probably a significant zone we identified and to be paying attention to. Look at this wick, guys. We identified this box by where we had price blow through and a candle never closed. That's where it closed. That's where we made our box. Look at that touch. Look at that touch. Solana at this point just does not want to fall below this 160 and into our zone. Do we get the spike down and the breakout? We'll see. We have our Thor calls. Remember, we don't know. We're not saying which way price is going. What we're saying is if Sol breaks down into the lower portion of this zone and gives you that 156 entry, look to go long, look to retest the areas, the EMAs and long-term support. Look to take profits about 176 before we meet resistance or potentially go bullish again, right? We do have another long call from Sol down here. We've got a long call down here right at the 150. And again, retesting where the long-term EMAs will probably be somewhere up near this 170 is take profit. But you can see how we could be making lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Bullish scenario. Now, our bearish scenario, sorry. Now, our bullish scenario. We do hold. We do hold. We spiked this enough. We've tested it enough. We found this is support. we're going. We get the break, we fill the zone, we get the retest. Remember, we also had last week, we had a big Thor short up here at 242, and the take profit point was down here, I believe, at the 210. Now that we've lost support of the long term EMA, now that we've found resistance on the RSI, Thor has actually removed this short at 242. Why? It's still a significant zone, I'm sure, but it has found it as it being less probable to hit. So that zone has been removed. What we're looking at now, bullish, pumping up to this 196, retesting basically where we'd break out if we do break out, filling at the 185, and if we then continue to pump, retest the all-time highs, look for us to retest what was resistance, 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 resistance. We're going to test that as a support if we do pump up to test that all-time high. You can see how that take profit zone falls in perfect what was resistance, resistance, resistance. We're at least going to test that for support before continuing what direction we're going to move from there. So there's our bullish, there's our bearish scenarios for Solana. If we go to Kira, hear somebody hot mic in there. If you don't mind shutting your mic off. If we go to Kira here, remember, Kira had been holding this zone pretty strong, and we were looking to maintain it. If not, we know where we're looking at, but Kira's just been moving different. It's acting different. Still low market cap, not financial advice. Do your own research. But those of us that are watching Kira know our zones. We're still looking bullish and ready to go. We're going to take a look at Jupe because we got Jupiter for free just by holding a Cyber Frog. You got Jupiter for free just by holding one Cyber Frog. You do get some Jupiter calls. So we're going to take a look at Jupiter real quick. Jupiter is a token that I am bullish on in this run. I think the tools are amazing. Not just what it is doing, but with giving us the ability and the operations to buy and sell, but the tools that it's providing with the limit orders and the DCAs, how easy and cheap it is to use. It's just fantastic. Super bullish on Jupe. If Jupe is to achieve a market cap of Uniswap in the last bull run, we're looking at a $16 Jupiter, guys. So Jupiter is one I'm bullish on for the long run. But as you see, we've been in this kind of downward pattern, this downtrend. And we've said before we want to go long, we want to see this breakout and retest. Wherever it occurred, it didn't occur here. Will it occur here? Maybe. But we want to see this breakout and retest to then ultimately give us an idea of what our next uptrend is looking like. Remember, this is hypothetical, but this is what we could be looking at. Or this could continue down. How far a retrace have we taken? I mean, Jupiter was born in a bull run, right? Born in a bull run and has pretty much just been pumping. We did take a 30% retrace, which is healthy. It's healthy. We hold this uptrend. I mean, here's our long-term uptrend, guys. Like, that's our long-term uptrend. We could still bleed out quite a ways and still be bullish. So my next big target zone would be this gap that we never really filled, never retested for Jupe. That would give us approximately a 40% retrace to this zone. But if you have one frog, you got free Jupiter and you've got Jupiter calls from Thor. So if we go in, how do you check them out? You want to check it out. You got free Jupe. You want to take some calls on Jupiter. Here's how you do so. Going to go in. We're going to log into Thor. You're going to look at your list of assets here, and you're going to scroll down. You're going to see Jupe. There are asterisks next to it, means there are current calls. We look at the time frame. We've got 15-minute, 1 hour, and 4 hour. We're going to look at the 4 hour. What's the juicy call for Jupe? What's coming up? Actually looking for, if we pump up and test near these highs again, look for a short, take profit point 149. So coming down and retesting what was resistance. If we pump up, we're going to test what was resistance. And then we're going to see if what was resistance, we're going to test that as a support. That's where the take profit is, right here at the 149. So that's the juicy call. If we pump up, look for the retrace. That's our juicy call for June. Solana, as you saw and as we had mapped out, we've got several calls on the 4 hour, and one of the daily calls actually lines up with the 4 hour. Some of the long entries line up with the 4 hour as well. So, oh, actually, it's been revoked since I put it on the chart. That's why we use Thor. Thor keeps you in the know, keeps you ready to go. So, we've got some long calls and short calls here on the 4 hour. We mapped them out. We went through the bullish and bearish scenarios. I'm going to bring up Chonky since it's trending right here. We've been talking about it a little bit. We're going to take a look at Chonky real quick because we've been playing it pretty well on our calls with the Marketflow TA and just giving you guys. I'm not trying to teach you or tell you to buy Chonky or anything else. I'm just trying to teach you guys how to identify zones to buy, right? Zones to buy, where you can look to take good profits, and then when to look for that good retrace and that good entry zone. 60% down again. We got the break. We're looking to hold the higher low. This would be a good entry zone to consider again. Not financial advice. Do your own research. I'm not telling you to buy Chonky. I'm just trying to teach you guys how to identify market flow. Another one that has been really interesting, we'll take a quick look at, is Zeus. Zeus is new. Zeus did give an airdrop. Zeus is, I love Zeus's thought. I love the way they even worded this. Why not use Solana as the layer 2 for Bitcoin? I love the thought of it. I love what they're bringing out. It was an airdrop. It has been taking dips. But if you want some exposure to Bitcoin, but want to operate in the Solana ecosystem, maybe this is one you want to consider looking at whenever we get the break and the retest and find that higher low to give us a little bit of bullish significance. It could happen here. It could happen way down here. But when it does, we want to look for the break, the retest, and the higher low. So appreciate you guys joining. We've got our scenarios for Bitcoin. We've got our scenarios for Solana. Remember, guys, Thor, Marketflow, we're not trying to teach you cyber frogs. We're not telling you where the market's going. We're just telling you if we go bullish, then we have a plan. If we go bearish, then we have a plan. Frogs fuck, Thor Prince. See you all next Tuesday for the next Market Flow.